Hello, everyone. We have two eclipses to come now in October. After, in the beginning of October, the two lunar nodes make their great movement. They change their signs for the next 18 months. So Rahu, the head of the dragon, is entering Pisces, and Ketu, the tail of the dragon, is entering Virgo. Watch my separate video on this matter, very important, because this will shift a bit our reality for the next 18 months. After October, the lunar nodes are very important. Now, with the movement of the lunar nodes into these new signs, of course, the eclipses are also changing their positions. Most of the eclipses for the last 2 years, 2022, 2023, took place on the axis of Aries Libra. Now, on the 14th of October, we have the solar eclipse, which is not total, but still important. Solar eclipse takes place on the axis of Virgo, Pisces, exactly on the 27 degrees of Virgo. I will be speaking about this eclipse. And then we have the second one, still on the axis of Libra Aries, which is the lunar, not total, lunar eclipse, taking place in the 8 degrees of Libra and 8 degrees of Aries. I will be explaining you also how I see this eclipse too. So first of all, based on the first impression that we get from internet, let me tell you, of course, from what we see, the place where the shadow of the eclipse will be visible, this is where the eclipses will have influence. Obviously, this is so, but I will give you also my interpretation, which is Babylonian. So first of all, when we start with the eclipse, the annular solar eclipse on the 14th of October, the eclipse will be, the shadow will be passing through West in Africa, North America, South America, Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, and not Europe. But I will tell you that even though the eclipse, the shadow will not be passing through Europe, still there will be influence in Europe. And then let's see now, this is just what I read from the internet, because we still need to know where the eclipse is visible from. But we have our Babylonian approach, and we watch some important factors. You know, we have certain placements on the sky which are very important. And one of them is where the eclipse, the shadow of eclipse, which path on the sky is occupying. And as I mentioned previously in other videos, on the sky we have the three celestial paths, which are named after the three main divinities of the ancient Mesopotamia. We have the path of Anu, Enlil, and Ea. These eclipses, by the way, both of them take place on the path of Anu. According to the ancients, the path of Anu is directly related to ancient Akkad, which is the contemporary Iraq, by the way, and which from our perspective would be Europe. It means that even though the shadow of the eclipse is not really passing through Europe, there will be influence on Europe. Now, of course, I have to start with the following. The eclipses are considered dramatic, literally difficult events. These are portals for change, and the change is usually difficult, and they are difficult. Now, also, the thing which I noticed is, there is this detail which also the ancients mentioned. They say when good planet is watching, the evil can be reversed. Now, I didn't see good planet making any aspect. Neither Jupiter nor Venus are making any good harmonious aspect towards the eclipse point, which is 27 degrees of Virgo. Also, 27 degrees of Virgo is just 2 degrees away from the gorgeous fixed star Spica. Spica is a beautiful star. This is when you have the celestial woman, the virgin woman, holding the wheat, this is the holding the wheat stalk. This is the star Spica. It's beautiful star which has a nature of conjunction of Venus and Mercury, star related to you know, to beautiful spiritual activities, to talents, communication, commerce, even money, but it's very much related to talents. And this degree is being good that it's not exactly this degree, but still in the vicinity of speaker, this is being eclipsed. In addition, when we look simply what is happening in speaker, it is a lot about health. Of course, this is the 6th house of the zodiac, so this may have not large, but it will have health impact, not in a very good sense. It may have impact on education, on talents, like they may try to suppress those beautiful human activities. And also other detail we have here, which is that this eclipse is taking place on the 29th lunar day. Okay, this is clear, but this is the month of Tishrit, and it is also happening on the night watch, and this particular watch means that the eclipse will have impact minimum for the next 3 months and 10 days, and it means the greatest impact it has is on diminishing markets, and it will have also impact on America because it has to do with the month Tishrit. So first of all these countries which I listed will be and continents will be somehow influenced. Secondly, because of the path of Anu, it has to do with Europe. It has to do with talents, with health, mainly with diminishing markets. And it will also have influence on America as well. Also, one additional stuff is that the eclipse, how they make interpretation on the eclipses, they were masters, by the way. I will just remind you that the kings there, especially when we take Sargon the Great, was known for having his tower in the ziggurat when he would be absolutely obsessed with watching the eclipses. He would have a team of astrologers who would do this for him, and they were great scientists that would be working for the great Sargon, and they would be watching eclipses. So they had their they had their ways, very scientific, very advanced. So these are some of the rules which were known back then, which are actually known to have been noted in their astronomical diaries. And one of these rules is that the interpretation of eclipses were done according to which part of the disk of the sun or the moon was eclipsed first, from where the eclipse starts. So this is valid for both solar and lunar. I think from the astronomical perspectives, which I so of course it will have some differences. Of course, it will have differences across the world, but mostly the darkening would be the second from. I think it was from north, and it would have to do with 1 second to see. Yes, indeed, it would be from north. It has to do with Akkad again, Europe. But again, this would vary from the different parts of the world. Another thing is, of course, they would see the winds. The winds now, which wind would be blowing at the moment of the eclipse. This, of course, we can say only later. Now, again, when I look at the horoscope, now simply, from the perspective of simply horoscopes, Mercury is also conjoined at the moment of the eclipse. Mercury will also be participating, and really, like I told you, no benevolent planet will make any aspect. The good thing is that malefic planet is not making aspect either, and this is also good. Mars is not making aspect. Saturn is not making aspect. Venus, Jupiter also, nobody's making us, but Mercury participates in the eclipse, which is often to see because he's usually very near the sun. Very powerful Mercury in a phase, he's a phase of disappearing, and he is also participating in the eclipse. Eclipsed Mercury as well, Mercury disappearing. This will mean further suppression of the free speech. Remember, eclipses are not very good events. Of course, evil can be reversed. The ancients did rituals for that. We should know that. And I will be talking about this in a moment too. So we should not be really so negative. Also, you know that eclipses happen all the time. And I will remind to you these eclipses, the scary ones. 3 years ago, we had 6, you know, when the pandemic was pandemic. We had 6, so we knew what this is. When you see 6 eclipses in a year, my God, this will be very heavy year. 4 eclipses we had last year, 4 eclipses this is normal. All right, now the second eclipse, the lunar one, on the 13th Arach Samna. 13th Arach Samna, 13th lunar day responsible for Akat Europe again. And Arach Samna, the month, is corresponding to Subartu, which is Russia. The second eclipse will have more impact on Russia. And again, happens on the evening watch. In this particular position would have impact 3 months and 10 days. And you see they pile up each other, like the first one, then the second. So this is something interesting again. I mentioned to you, it happens on the axis of Libra, Aries, 8 degree. Aries, 8 degree, Libra. Here comes the interesting part. What we have in the 8 degrees of Aries, where the moon will be. These are the jaws, the mouth of the celestial ram. The jaws, the mouth, and the moon is there. Lunar eclipse. Well, its emphasis on, again, jaws is speech, but dirty, ugly. We will be hearing a lot of things will be revealed to us, not good, or disappointing things will be said worldwide. And then the more interesting part, in Libra, 8 degrees, we have Chiron, the healer, Chiron, who was amazing philosopher, teacher. He, remember, was related not mainly to alternative medicine, herbalism, alternative medicine. And these are very, very noble degrees which have influence on people who are very smart, healers, philosophers, lecturers, people who teach healthy lifestyle and fooding, you know, all these are the degrees where the sun will be. So this axis is very important, the axis of saying, speech, but not in a very good way, because these degrees are not good in Aries. And then we have this very am I recording? Yes, these very noble degrees of Chiron, which would say that you will see changes. This eclipse will open doors for changes, because it's a full moon, you know, it's a lunar eclipse, not total, but still, and you will see changes. Maybe you see eclipses are negative, but what temporary you can see negative impact, which can turn into something good. So blockages, attacks on people who would be doing this noble activity like Chiron did, the natural medicine, and then this can turn into something good, but or can bring new discoveries related to this type of science and healing. So in this sense, this is good. And I forgot to start with what I started in relation to the eclipse on the 14th of October. So the one on 28th, 29th, actually, and this eclipse, I think, is completing the watch. So it could take longer than 3 months and 10 days. But this eclipse is more, it's partial, called partial, but it's more global, because look where the shadow is passing. Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, North America, big part of South America, Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Arctic, Antarctica, and completes the watch. So could be that this eclipse is more impactful than the first one. And to remind you again, this eclipse takes place in the same celestial path, the path of Anu. As we said, this path of Anu is directly related to Europe. And since we know eclipses are malefic events, we can see difficulties in Europe related to the same diminishing markets. Both eclipses promise diminishing markets, very unfortunately, I have to say that. Also, I wanted to tell you something so that we are not really, well, so negative, because there is nothing so much we can do. But they did rituals to revert the evil from the eclipses. They would have Baru, which is a diviner, Kalu priests, they would have exorcists. It was, imagine, a full team of spiritual practitioners, let's say, and they would really do very serious rituals. One of them would be really like work of chanting, addressing the luminaries, Shamash, the lunar god. They would do rituals for releasing of which is or something very typical. They would do liver divination again to Shamash or to Adat, the god of the storm. We don't have to do liver divination or exorcism, but we could certainly do our spiritual work. And one ritual I will tell you about, which is a bit funny, it is called to substitute the king. Let's say the king was endangered, especially solar eclipses would have more impact on the king than on people. And when they would see that the king would die or suffer due to the eclipse, they would substitute temporarily the king. They would hide the king and substitute the king with somebody, let's say they find somebody on the street, poor man, and they would substitute the king. And then once the evil momentum is over, they would kill this person. This is they would do this also by substituting family members, not in that the evil extreme, but I'm just giving you examples that people would not give up. Also in the ancient times, they would not give up to the evil. They would do things. We all know in our different cultures what to do. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, I will also be speaking about the change of the positions of the lunar nodes, because this is very important and they are bringing the eclipses with themselves. So all the best. Bye-bye.